Thanks for tuning into Garden Hands. Today we are about 12 weeks away from our last frost, and that kind of snuck up on me. I actually thought we were about 14 weeks away. So I'm scrambling a little bit today to see what kind of seeds I can get started, and it's the beginning of the season. I'm super excited. Today, the first thing that I'm going to be working on are petunias. I've been growing petunias about 3 years, and mostly because they got kind of expensive. If I put petunias in all of the beds that I wanted to, it would add up really quick, and I just wasn't quite willing to pay that. So I started growing them, and I wasn't real thrilled with the varieties that I had the first year. I'm assuming it's because, you can come sit down. I'm assuming it's because I didn't take care of them very well. I'm sure they were lovely varieties, but I wasn't real thrilled with them. Last year, I purchased a few packs from GeoSeed. They were the Easy Wave varieties, and I really enjoyed a couple of them. So that's what I stuck with this year, and that's what we're gonna be planting today. I had a helper here, but she's in and around helping with our latest family member. So our newest family member, maybe we'll show him later. But she's gonna help me get some petunias started. Growing petunias from seed is pretty easy. You don't need a ton of supplies. Today, what I'm gonna be using, seed starting mix. I got this from a local big box store. I have a container of water that we're gonna add to the soil just to make sure that it starts out fairly moist. You don't want your seeds to dry out. I am also using these 72 count cell trays. I don't know how many I'm going to need. And my thought is that I will probably plant 2 seeds per cell. Underneath the plug trays, I have 10-20 trays. And then on top of the plug trays, I have a humidity dome. The one thing I did not bring upstairs was vermiculite. I do like to put that on top of any seeds that I've started, so I may add that later or I may not. It completely is up to you and what you have available. The only other thing I brought up here was a mister so that we can make sure the top of the seeds are moist before they go under the humidity domes. I have my seeds, I have labels, a marker, and then I do have toothpicks and a little ceramic ramekin in case that's easier to get the seeds out. And that's it. So let's get started. Do you want to mix it or do you want me to mix it?
I'll mix.
Okay. You want to roll your might want to roll your sleeves up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add enough water so that it's kind of like, I don't know, brownie mix. All right, how's it looking?
Feels okay.
So when you grab a clump of it, can it stay in its shape without dripping too much? It's dripping quite a bit. Did you mix in this? Yeah, you can squeeze it a little bit. You don't want it to just be like a flood coming out, but you do want it to hold its shape. Can you mix this front stuff in a little bit? Let's get this up. I'm gonna have you fill it, and then I'm just gonna have you basically
Try to hold it in shape.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's just a kind of a guide. All right, do you want to fill it?
Sure.
Okay, I'll just kind of put half of it here, so just fill like up to half.
Is that
There
good?
you go. Yep, perfect.
Do you want them like all the way full?
Yep, you can fill them all the way up, and then once they're full, you can kind of double check that they're actually full. Because there's a lot of air in the soil,
Yeah.
so it settles down a little bit. And then what I do, just to double check, I kind of go through and just very gently just see if there's some, because usually a lot of them on the edge
Yeah.
aren't quite full, and that's okay. Just go through and do all of them like this, and then you can just put one more layer of soil over everything. You don't have to push hard. There you go. So you can see the ones that are a little bit less. We keep looking off camera because we added a new member to our family, to our Garden Hands family. Should we show our new member?
Yep.
All right. Here's our new little member.
His name is Percy.
This is Percy. And we'll see what kind of a gardening dog he is.
We just got him yesterday, so he's still developing.
He's still
He's
learning.
still adjusting.
Yeah, he's adjusting. He's doing really good so far. Huh. Yeah, you're just checking everything out. It'll be fun to see if he is a big fan of gardening. He likes to be outside, so we're hoping. What do you think?
Take the dirt.
Could have named him like Cosmo or something. Petunia. Could have named you Petunia.
For a boy.
Well, sure.
A
So you'll
boy.
see Percy around in some videos, especially once we get outside. You wanna go back down? Here you go. All right, you have a couple choices of what color you're going to be doing. So I didn't mention that yet. The colors that we're going to be doing. An Easy Wave White, I really liked this one last year. It spread about 2.5 feet. Plum Pudding, also an Easy Wave variety. I did not grow this one last year, but it's almost a fuchsia or magenta color, at least online that's what it looked like. So I think that would be a good color to have. And then the reason I stuck with the Easy Wave was because of this Plum Vein. I did grow this last year. It was really pretty. It was kind of just a muted purple almost. It wasn't bright purple, but it wasn't light purple. I thought it was a really nice, hey look, it's from Costa Rica. That's fun. The one thing I would say is that I started them 10 weeks early last year, and they were not nearly as developed or big or lush as if you would buy a plant from a nursery. So I'm going to start them 12 weeks early this year, hoping that'll give them an extra 2 weeks, and hopefully they will start blooming a couple weeks earlier as well. By the end of the season, they were beautiful. They were pushing 3 feet in diameter, mostly in the landscape ones that I had planted. I did plant some in some containers as well, and they were beautiful. They looked great. But June and early July, they looked nothing like Mom's did when she planted the Proven Winner ones in her hay racks. So hopefully a couple weeks earlier will give them a little bit more of a head start, and we'll see what they look like this year. The other thing is, most of my petunias were not on drip irrigation last year, and I did not fertilize them either. So if I have my act together this year, I could maybe do both of those things, and that would only improve how they look throughout the season. Okay, Emma has the first tray done. I'm going to have her start filling this tray. I'm gonna lift that up and we'll put this under it. There you go. Oops. Perfect. We'll just push this forward, and I'm going to have you start, there goes the dishwasher, 50 of these Plum Vein. You wanna put the seeds into this ramekin. You can open that up and just dump them in. They're actually not too little. I thought they were gonna be smaller than that. If you think you can put them in your hand and drop 2 in each cell, feel free to do that.
Okay. Is there more?
Yep, I got another container.
Not very much.
No. When I do them, because this is downstairs, I start at the front of the row, and we're gonna put this right in here. So everything this way, and then all of them this way, I know are this variety.
Do you want them just dropped in or pushed down?
Yep, I put them right on top, and then I try and put them in 2 sides, kind of opposite sides of it. Perfect. Yep. I mean, you can touch it down if you want, just so it's in the soil, but you don't have to bury them. They want light to germinate. She's sowing all of these seeds at the surface level. They do need light to germinate. There's a couple that we might push down just so they don't float away when we add water, but we'll mist over these once she gets this tray planted, and then we will put the humidity dome on. I am gonna put this on a heat mat. These should germinate within about 7 to 10 days, I think, something like that. And once they do, I'll take the humidity dome off, remove them from heat. After they have a couple sets of true leaves, then I'll think about potting them up. All right, so remember where you're at, and we'll add a couple more of those. Petunias are heat-loving annuals, so I won't start hardening these off until we're real close to our last frost date, and then they can get planted out after the last frost. They do benefit from fertilizing, so I probably will fertilize these when I remember to, once they've got a couple sets of true leaves. And then again, if I remember to, once they're outside, they would benefit from that fertilization. So that's about it for petunias. The only other thing that, you know, might be good for them is once they're growing, maybe give them a haircut halfway through the season. I try to do that, and it does seem to reinvigorate them a little bit, give them a little bit of energy for the rest of the season, and hopefully they do well. I had good germination with a couple of these last year, so I'm looking forward to another year of some petunias out there and possibly saving quite a bit of money. And possibly saving quite a bit of money on these. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned. We'll have some garden tours coming up as soon as we're able to get outside, and we'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.